Welcome to the Midnight Teahouse. You are safe here. The rain is falling gently and the night is quiet. Take a deep breath. Let go of your thoughts. Sink into the warmth of your blanket and allow your mind to wander. You're invited to step into a quiet world where nothing is urgent and everything is soft. Let this cozy story carry you gently into sleep. The rain had been falling for hours, soft and steady, like a lullaby gently humming against my window. I could hear it tapping, each droplet a delicate patter on the sill, echoing through my quiet room. It was deep into the night, that hushed time where the world grows still and even the city forgets to be busy. But I couldn't sleep. I had tossed and turned, shifting beneath the weight of my blanket. I counted raindrops. I watched the shadows of water trails race one another down the glass. But sleep, ever elusive, remained just out of reach. The air in my bedroom was cool and still. I slid my legs out from under the covers and reached for my slippers. They are soft and well worn, and I kept them tucked closely beside my bed. Their fleece lining greeted my feet with a warm sigh. I pulled my robe around me, plush and heavy, and I tied the belt snugly at my waist. I crossed the room and stood in front of the window. The city was washed in soft amber light, reflected in shimmering puddles and dripping eaves. Streetlights glowed like a lantern in a fog, and across the street, the midnight tea house glowed with a welcoming light. I could almost smell the tea already, earthy, floral, familiar. That's what I knew. That's what I needed. I padded over to the front door of my apartment. My tall rain boots waited by the mat, always there for the late night dog walk or an impulsive rainy stroll. I slipped out of my slippers and eased into the boots, chuckling softly at myself. A robe, a nightgown, and knee-high boots. Not exactly runway attire, but it was only me and the night and the rain. The hallway outside my apartment was quiet. The soft creak of the floorboards beneath me was the only sound as I made my way toward the stairs. Above me, the glass skylight shimmered with rainfall. I paused for a moment at the landing, staring up at it. Through the glass, I could see the night sky was painted with streaks of rain, illuminated now and then by a faint flicker of light from the street. At the building's front door, I paused. The wind hissed faintly outside, just enough to make me pull my robe tighter. I opened my umbrella, held it close, and stepped out. The chill met me instantly, fresh and damp and alive. The kind of cold that wakes your skin and clears your thoughts. I stayed beneath the awning for a breath, watching the rain. It danced across the pavement like tiny silver threads, weaving in every direction. I started walking, careful not to let the wind flip my umbrella. The corner of the building was slick with puddles. As I rounded it, I saw the tea house come into full view. There it was, arched windows glowing, foggy with warmth. Lamps flickered beneath the glass, casting halos across the street. The front door, old and wooden, stood slightly ajar, as if waiting for me. I stepped off the curb, glancing both ways. The street was empty, just me and the rain. I dashed across with small splashes beneath my boots. At the door, I paused again. I closed my eyes, tilted my head up slightly, and breathed in. The scent of rain on pavement mixed with the warm smell of cinnamon and something floral. The familiar fragrance of chamomile and wood. This was my place. I opened the door and stepped inside, placing my umbrella in the stand by the entrance. The warmth hit me like a hug. The low lighting, the mix of soft lamp glow and amber sconces filled every corner of the room with comfort. The chairs were all mismatched, even one with a different leg or carved arm. But together, they looked like they belonged, like they'd been found by someone who saw their charm. Cindy looked up from the counter. Her cardigan sleeves were rolled up slightly, and her book lay open beside her teacup. She gave me a knowing smile. "How about a warm cup of chamomile?" she asked, already reaching for the kettle. I just nodded and smiled. Cindy understood. She always did. I didn't come here for conversation. I came here for quiet, for warmth, for the kind of silence that feels like safety. I chose the table by the window, my usual spot. The rain ran in lines across the glass, and I watched as the outside world blurred into watercolor. The table lamp flickered softly, casting a little golden pool across the dark wooden tabletop. Cindy brought my tea in a blue and white floral cup. The steam drifted upward, and I cupped it gently in my hands, feeling the heat seep into my fingers. She set it down with a quiet smile, and we exchanged another glance of wordless understanding. I raised the cup, letting the steam brush my face. I could feel the chamomile in my chest before I even took a sip, like my body already knew it was being taken care of. Then came the softest touch, barely there, a gentle brush against my ankle. I looked down and smiled again. Franny, the tea shop cat. She had once been a stray, but she'd chosen this place, just like I had. She rubbed her back against my boot and gave me a little purr. I tapped my lap gently, and she jumped up, circling twice before settling down with a thud and a purr that vibrated through my legs. I stroked her back gently, watching the rain. The streets outside were empty, except for the occasional flicker of car lights in the distance. Inside, all was still. The hum of the kettle, the rustle of pages, the rhythm of the rain, it all swirled together into a lullaby. Franny's body rose and fell in time with her breath, and her warmth seeped into mine. I took another sip of tea, watching the tiny droplets race down the glass. Minutes passed, maybe hours. Time didn't seem to matter here. I wasn't thinking about tomorrow. I wasn't thinking about anything at all. Just the tea. Just the rain. Just the quiet company of a purring friend. And the warmth, always the warmth of the midnight tea house.